Neo 3 time, baby. I just blasted through Neo 1 and 2 over the last 2 weeks in preparation. I am pumped. I love Neo 1 and 2.
Spirit stones. Shining stones imbued.
Hello. Good evening. I gotta reset. That's on me. I forgot. Didn't know this guy speaks fluent English. Yeah, I know, man.
Maybe Kusanagi's power reacted to the mirror.
I've got to change the dialogue
The
here soon.
lanterns are lit. Is someone here? Perhaps they know something. Let us ask them.
Ah, blacksmith.
Well now, you don't live here. Customers are rare these days. How goes your mission?
All right. I don't need to disassemble
Until
anything.
next
Yet. Well,
time,
actually,
huh?
I should.
But there's
No, maybe not.
This is no place for the living. It is more
This is
akin to
lore.
a crack in the world. Home to the emotions and unresolved feelings of men.
Is this the
I
beginning?
saw
Yeah, this is
a
still the
face
beginning.
I once knew. A presence, not unlike a ghost, perhaps. What a mysterious place. But for now, let us return to Hamamatsu.
Dark Souls 3 is one of the more beloved games in the Soulsborne series, and is often considered one of the best games released in the last 10 years. It has everything a third game in a series needs: more engaging gameplay, interesting areas, unique lore connections and callbacks, and in my opinion, the best boss roster From Software had put out up to that point. I've had previous experience with all of these games before this video, except for Dark Souls 3. So I decided now was the time to finally tick this game off the bucket list and complete the collection. However, it's one thing to beat a game and another to obtain the Platinum Trophy. The experiences could vary, as we'll see. So join me as I Platinum Dark Souls 3. Let's do this. Dark Souls 3 has 43 trophies, including the Platinum. These trophies include reaching all 3 endings, beating every single boss, obtain all sorceries, pyromancies, miracles, rings, and gestures, and join every covenant, as well as deepen my bond with those covenants to acquire a handful of the previously mentioned collectibles. Doing all of this will require at least 3 playthroughs. I'm also expecting a tough time, as I've experienced firsthand how difficult From Software games can be. And while it's not technically required, I will also be completing the DLC, as I'm playing the Fire Fades edition and wanted to experience everything this game has to offer. With that said, I began my journey to platinuming Dark Souls 3. For my first playthrough, I wanted to experience this game blind. Part of enjoying games is the anticipation of what comes next. So, I next headed to the cathedral. Here, I encountered one of the most annoying NPCs in the entire Souls series. All other possible trophies found in this playthrough now began what many found very tanky. You can really only deal proper damage to him by hitting his head, meaning that there
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to finally wrap up the Dark Souls trilogy, because today I platinumed the long-awaited Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 is a fan favorite, and for good reason. It has pretty much everything a good sequel should. Iconic locations, fun weapons, great NPCs, awesome callbacks, and quite possibly the most stacked roster of bosses out of any FromSoft game. At the end of each Soulsborne video, I do rank all the games from worst to best, and spoiler alert, this one's up there. I hope I can do this incredible game justice in the limited time I have here today. Dark Souls 3 has 43 trophies, a difficulty of 6 out of 10, and an estimated completion time of a whopping 110 hours. Good God, that is the most we've seen so far. Hopefully the majority of it doesn't consist of collectibles and farming random items. That would be so crazy, right? But without further ado, let's get to the game. Like every other Souls game, we start with a character creator, and the trend of me making wacky characters is back, because joining me for my Dark Souls 3 playthrough is the Joker. Oh, sorry, the Jonkler. And we're gonna be running the Knight as our starter class, because I just can't resist a good strength build with some badass looking armor. I've literally done this in pretty much every other playthrough. Alright, here we are. We spawn in the Cemetery of Ash, which just has so many nice civilians to talk to. They're great. Definitely. I should also mention here that Dark Souls 3 is very similar to Elden Ring in terms of combat systems. It took all the way to Dark Souls 3 to introduce an FP bar and weapon arts. As someone whose first game was Elden Ring, that is very weird. I genuinely did not know that it took that long until what I thought were basic mechanics to get added to the games. But it's good to see them. They were sorely missed. Then I found my first bonfire and got a trophy. It's the quintessential freebie. And not even 5 minutes into the game, I encountered the first boss. Yeah. Yeah, Dark Souls 3 doesn't beat around the bush. It's aware you probably play the other games before, so it just throws you right in. And Udex Gundyr is a perfect first boss. Not difficult, but it gets you warmed up. He also has a second stage where he apparently gets the Venom symbiote. Where the fuck did that come from? But I destroyed him first try. Yeah, I know. I'm the GOAT, and I got a trophy. And I also got another trophy at the same time for embering up for the first time. This just happens whenever you kill a boss or use the ember item. Then I made it to this game's Firelink Shrine, and it might be my favorite hub area in the whole series, including Majula. Please don't kill me. It's an awesome hub area, complete with my boy Andre the Blacksmith from Dark Souls 1. Good to have you back, buddy. The only downside of this area is that it literally is not connected to any other area in the game. You have to teleport to the first main level from the bonfire. World connectivity is a lost art, unfortunately. Dark Souls 1 is rolling in its grave right now. But on the bright side, the art, unfortunately. Dark main level from the bonfire. World connectivity is a lost art, unfortunately. Dark Souls 1 is rolling in its grave right now. But on the bright side, the first area of this game is really cool. The High Wall of Lothric has some great visuals and scenery, and I even got the Symbol of Avarice from killing my very first mimic of the game, which is extremely lucky. It's like the best piece of equipment for farming. Along my journey through this area, I found Emma, the High Priestess of Lothric Castle, and she lets me join the first covenant of the game, netting me a trophy. And right after her is this area's main boss, Vort of the Boreal Valley. He kind of looks like one of those roided up horses. And his fight is really nothing special, to be honest. Just stay close and play aggressive. But somehow this seemingly normal, unremarkable boss got literally the most iconic song to ever come out of a FromSoft game. It's the meme song. How the hell did this guy get the meme song? I was genuinely baffled when I heard this song. I didn't know where it was from. But with Vort defeated and me now being one trophy richer, it's time for me to move on to the next area. And I get there via these harpy looking fuckers a la on Orlando. This next location is the Undead Settlement, a much blander and uglier area. But fortunately for me, there's a shining beacon of light amidst this dull, depressing town. And his name is Siegward of Katarina, the GOAT NPC. He is my guy. We kill this demon together and then he falls asleep. What a badass. Enough said. I also ended up voluntarily getting myself kidnapped so I could be taken to a highly missable covenant known as the Mound Makers. And whenever I hear the name Mound Makers, I just immediately think of shit. Like piles and piles of shit. I'm sorry, I just think it's very funny if you think about it like that. The boss of the Undead Settlement is the Curse-Rotted Greatwood, a gimmick boss that can only be damaged if you hit its balls. Eventually, it'll fall down into the Moundmaker Covenant area, voiding that trophy completely if you haven't already gotten it. But the boss is very easy, and that's another trophy down. Moving on to one of the worst areas in the entire game, Farron Keep. I found a couple of NPCs that will be really important later, but for now, they're still pretty important because they give me a covenant and a trophy. Here, I also found the Crystal Sage, aka nobody's favorite Dark Souls 3 boss. It's a basic mage, nothing special. It clones itself, you gotta find the real one. They had the same exact boss way back in Demon Souls. This is nothing new. I killed it and got a trophy, and this unlocked a path to a side area. Of that. I don't like what's going on there. I guess this is technically a duo fight, even though they're kind of still one entity, because Lothric is constantly hugging Lorien like a little bitch. To win in this phase, Lorien has to be killed first, which leaves Lothric by himself. Lothric will then start to revive Lorien, and it locks him into an animation where you can just punish the hell out of him. The alternative is that you can sometimes hit Lothric while Lorien is still alive, but I didn't find this to be very consistent, so I just focused Lorien. The fight ends once Lothric dies for the first time, and like every other boss, I get a trophy for beating them. Then I quickly went back to Irithyll and got the last covenant of the game. This one is very secret and involves walking over an invisible bridge to get to it. No wonder why I didn't find this originally. And at this point, I'm done with everything in the base game except for the final boss, which I always save for last. So like all other videos, even though the DLC gives me no trophies, I'm still gonna play through it because some of the best bosses are locked behind it. The first DLC, Ashes of Ariandel, isn't really my favorite. I think the area itself is kind of boring. But holy shit, the boss at the end of it is absolute peak. And get used to me saying that because they went all out with the DLC bosses this time around. Sister Fried is an insane boss. The first phase is quite similar to Priscilla from Dark Souls 1 in the sense that she turns invisible a bunch and that you have to listen for when she's about to attack. Overall, first phase isn't very difficult. It's really just the invisibility gimmick that you have to learn. Phase 2 is where things start to get a little bonkers because this dude, Father Ariandel, decides to tag himself in, and now you gotta deal with fire and ice. I found that the best strategy is to completely ignore Sister Fried and only target Ariandel. He's much easier to hit and they have a shared health bar anyway, so might as well just go for him. Also, you gotta teach him a lesson for just barging into a fair one-on-one fight. That's kind of a dick move. And this is another duo fight done really well. Dark Souls 3 kind of nailed it when it comes to that. But this is where things get real spicy, because when you beat the second stage, it makes it seem like everything is fine and dandy until Sister Fried gets up like Michael fucking Myers with a third stage where her scythe gets black flame and she can now do a bunch of completely ridiculous attacks. As you may be able to tell, this fight takes a really long time to get through. It's basically 3 different boss fights, and it's 3 full health bars that you gotta worry about. And the third stage is by far the hardest, so be prepared to start all the way from the beginning. But after about 25 minutes, I killed Sister Fried and beat the first DLC. Yeah, there's only one mandatory boss in the DLC, which kind of sucks, but there is an optional boss. It's just this random guy and then a giant wolf. Yeah, this fight is pretty ass compared to Sister Fried. It's really not memorable. And this wolf will never be as cool as Sif. Get this shit out of my face. Alright, now the first DLC is actually done. The second DLC is definitely better because it has more bosses and they are all really good, except for one, which we'll get to in a minute. However, this first area was genuinely miserable for me. These stupid fucking butterfly angel things could suck a 23-inch horse cock. This is the closest to rage quitting that I got out of any Souls game, and I genuinely mean that. This is one of my my least favorite areas ever. But luckily at the end of the area is another really awesome duo fight. This time I'm up against the demon duo. I'm pretty sure these are actually the last 2 living demons in the world. I don't know how they got here, but here they are. I actually think this fight is slightly better than Ornstein and Smo, so that's how you know it's a good duo fight. The only real annoying thing during this phase is that one of the demons can poison you for some reason, which I think is kind of stupid, but it is avoidable and not the end of the world even if you do get poisoned. The really cool part comes during phase 2. Once you beat the demons, they merge and become the Demon Prince, and this dude is ridiculously powerful. He's got a good amount of HP, good damage output, and goddamn laser beams. What drugs did they put this guy on in the demon realm? He's also got to be the coolest looking demon out of all of them. Definitely a really difficult fight overall. I was on this for about 30 minutes. Really good stuff though. Also, I saw this online, but this area is literally Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls 1. Look at this building. You can't tell me this is not 100% intentional. That is so fucking cool. We're finally back, boys. After the fight, I get teleported to the Ring City, the second half of this DLC, and this is one of the most beautiful areas I've ever seen. Unfortunately though, the welcoming party isn't very nice. After traveling for a while, I find a dragon who seriously wants me dead. What a douchebag. And then after a little while longer, I find him again and knock him down into a ravine. Guess that's the last we'll see of him, right? Moving on, I fought Half-Light Spear the Church, and this fight is absolute garbage. He's just a forgettable NPC boss that no one cares about. What a fucking snooze fest. Moving on to an optional area where I drop into a giant ravine. You know, I think I might have made a mistake. Yep, this is Dark Eater Midir, the dragon from earlier, and he's pretty pissed off now. You've probably heard this already, but this is one of the best dragon fights of all time. Many will put it at number 1, but I still like Bale the Dread from Elden Ring a little bit more. But still, this is absolutely phenomenal. You know how in most dragon fights, you just hit them in the foot until they drop dead? Yeah, well, you can't do that in this fight or else you'll be severely punished. You just gotta stand in front of this man, square up, and fight. Always aim for the head, it's double damage. But this was by far the hardest fight in the game for me, and it isn't even remotely close. I spent about an hour and 10 minutes trying to kill this big fella, and even when I pretty much learned the entire moveset, all it took was one minor misplay to send me back to the very start, because this is the heaviest hitter in the game by far. He also has laser beams, by the way. Yeah, don't get hit by those. Why does everyone have laser beams now? What's going on? Basically, if you download his entire moveset, don't ever get hit, and then beat him up, you're gonna win. Easy, right? Yeah, not quite. Although I was struggling to kill this boss, I still found it highly enjoyable, and I would gladly go back to fight Midir again. 10 out of 10, W Dragon. And also a really cool arena too. No wonder why they reused it for Shadow of the Erdtree. But moving on to the fan favorite boss in the entire trilogy. This is the final boss of the DLC and probably the best technical boss in the game. And of course, it's Slave Knight Gale. If you watch someone rank every Souls boss, chances are this guy is in the top 3, and he usually ain't number 3 or 2. He's just an exceptionally well-made boss. Just the concept alone is amazing. It's just the 2 strongest beings in the universe duking it out at the very end of time. And if that doesn't sound cool to you, then you might be a member of the Fun Police, and we don't accept you around these parts. Get the fuck out. The fight itself is also really difficult. I still haven't fully gotten the hang of the second phase. I was on it for about 30 minutes, and the run where I beat him, I used up all my flasks, so it definitely wasn't a clean run, and I could have lost at any moment. I completely understand why people put him at number 1. He's an absolute badass. The fight itself is pretty much perfect, and it's literally the final Dark Souls boss that they've ever made. We'll see if Dark Souls 4 ever comes out. I highly doubt it. But that's the end of the DLC. Let's kill the final boss of the base game now. And it's the good old Soul of Cinder. The lore of this boss is some of the coolest lore I've ever seen. Basically, the Soul of Cinder is every single person in history that linked the fire. So that includes Gwyn, the final boss of Dark Souls 1, the 4 Lords of Cinder from this game, my Dark Souls 1 character, your Dark Souls 1 character, and also our Dark Souls 2 characters. It's everybody versus me. This is their last stand to stop us from putting an end to the Age of Fire, and it is absolutely amazing. The OST is top tier. The boss whips out ninja flips from Dark Souls 1 because that is a very popular ring to use in that game, so naturally with all the souls of the Dark Souls 1 players, he would know how to do that. He also uses a bunch of other cool techniques used by us throughout the years. It really is the perfect finale to an amazing trilogy. And then we come full circle when phase 2 hits, because the soul of Gwyn, the very first Lord of Cinder, takes the reins completely, and it basically turns into a rematch from Dark Souls 1. Band for band, bar for bar. Even the music kicks in. The plin plin plons are in full effect, ladies and gentlemen. This might be be the best final boss out of any Souls game. Keep in mind, I'm saying this without playing Sekiro yet, so I'll have to see if the final boss in that game is better than the Soul of Cinder, but for now, Soul of Cinder is the best final boss FromSoft has ever made, in my humble opinion. Another absolutely perfect fight, in my opinion. And with the final boss dead, I get the first ending of the game. For this ending, I chose to end the Age of Fire once and for all, and bring on the Age of Dark, which sounds pretty fucking sinister, but it's really not. It's just the next natural step in the order of the world. And it was supposed to happen much sooner, but the Lords of Cinder kept lighting the damn fire, so that's how we got to this point. So I swear I'm not the bad guy here, they are, and they're also fucking dead. So joke's on them, I guess. Also, I'm pretty sure this is the canon ending of the game. It feels the most conclusive, and there we go. We get the final trophy for the platinum. Oh wait, no we didn't. I still have to play the game 2 more times, fuck. And do covenant grinding for ridiculously low drop rate items. I love platinuming games, it's my favorite. Now for some random miscellaneous trophies, I got my weapon to max level, and I actually did this in my last playthrough.
I think it's fair to say that Dark Souls 3 is largely seen as the best game in the Dark Souls sub-series specifically. It's a crown jewel in a lot of ways. Dark Souls 3 was, in fact, my first experience ever with a FromSoft game at all. And, you know, as being my introduction to the Dark Souls series back in the days, significantly more dangerous than I feel like he is, and that kind of deflates the tension that I think a boss of this scale could have. Like, I guess, like, the differences like Rykard and Elden Ring. Yes, it is a gimmick fight with the same idea, but I feel like Rykard's a little more dangerous. There's a lot more going on there than with Yorm, and again, it is what it is. I feel like they learned from that, but this fight's fine. It's just a thematic fight, I suppose, but that's really about it. Right after that, however, you may go directly into Dancer of the Boreal Valley, and I don't have a ton to say about this one, to be fair. It's like standard in a way that's good. I think it's a fight that is interestingly paced. She doesn't honestly move around very fast, but she has incredibly long and active moves. She has very sweeping hitboxes and a deceptively long range and moves that just feel like they don't stop, but she also has a lot of end lag on moves too, and is not massively aggressive, so you can find a lot of these windows to punish, and this fight should not give you much trouble. Usually people will just one and done this, but it's fine. I like it. I just don't have a ton to say about it. However, I do have a lot to say about the next mandatory fight, Aldrich, Devourer of the Gods. This fight, how do I say this lightly? I mean, I guess I would just say it's bullshit. I'm just messing around. It's not that bad. It's just like, it's one of those fights where its actual attacks kind of don't really make sense, or like in a way where you don't know it's swinging, and it has some of the hardest hitting moves in the game. I just think the animations for this fight are a little weird. I like his moveset. Like, it's definitely unique. It's varied. He kind of gets different moves in phase 2 and stuff like that. I love the variety that's within it, but I just feel like some of his hardest hitting attacks, whether it's like his tail or his actual sword, it's just like the animations feel really weird. I don't really know how else to put it. It's fine. I'm just being, you know, I'm exaggerating a bit. I guess I would just say if Aldrich had like slightly cleaner animations and it's what it was doing was maybe a little bit more telegraphed, and I would be okay with its massive damage output so long as I know what I'm fighting against. It's fun, and again, thematically, atmospherically, I do like it a lot. I just can't say it's one of my favorites. So next up is not a mandatory fight, but this is my boy
私は一人でも全然寂しくないの。仲間外れなんか気にしないもん。
ひなこ、お友達のところに遊びに行ったんじゃなかったの？
男の子と遊ぶ子はおままごとに入れてあげないだって。
じゃあお姉ちゃんと一緒におままごとしよっか。
本
お待たせ。
お姉ちゃん。
何かいいことでもあった？
ううん。昔を思い出してた。お姉ちゃんって小さい頃からずっとお姉ちゃんだったんだなって。
ひなこ、私ね。
これお姉ちゃんにあげる。
綺麗だわ。ありがとう。
ひなこ、親に向かってその言い草は何だ。
お父さん、やめてください。
純子はあんなにも高校娘なのに、どうして妹の前は何もかも正反対なんだ。どこ行く？話はまだ終わってないぞ、ひなこ。
お父さん、ひなこだって分かってくれてますよ。
分かってたらどうしてあの態度になるんだ。これも全部お前がひなこをずっと甘やかしてきたからだろう。
ひなこ、お父さんはね、あなたのためを思って
友達のとこ行ってくる。
早めに帰っておいでね。
あってたまるか、そんなこと。 砂崩れで通れない。昔はここ登ったな。拝んでおこう。 来てるかな。すいません。運転手さんいませんか？他の道を探そう。この先に抜け道があったはず。
絶対に呪いよ。あんなひどい死に方あるわけないもの。私なら絶対に嫌。そんな家。噂をすれば何とやらだよ。
裏切り者。
サクコ。
どこ行くの？こっち通るの珍しいね。
車が道を塞いでてさ。
千鶴や？
今は誰かと喋りたくて。
私も後から行くね。
うん。じゃあね。
裏切り者。
破られてる。シュウだ。
よ相棒。
シュウ。
あのさ。
うん。なんか言ってよ。
お前こそなんか言うことはないのかよ。
相棒にないんだったら私にだってない。
お前らしいや。受け身な生き方なんてお前らしくないぜ。お前が自分で選んだ道なら俺はいつまでも応援するからな。
シュウ。
シュウ君、お待たせ。
ひなこもいたんだ。リンコ。いや、大した話は。
誰かとおしゃべりしたい気持ちだったんだって。
気が紛れたよ。
それはよかった。お役に立てて光栄の極み。
会えると分かってたら借りてた雑誌持ってくればよかった。ああ、貸したままでいいよ。リンコに貸した時点で戻ってくると思ってないし。
んだとこんちくしょう。
笑いすぎだよ。サクコだってひなこから何か借りてるんじゃないの？
私なんかあったかな。ねえひなこ、じゃあ私が借りてる500円も返さなくていいよね。
サクコ利子つけて返すとか言ってなかった？
言ってないよ。消耗あんなら出してみろ。
いいこと聞いた。これからはサクコに貸すとき消しゴムであっても消耗書かせるから。
そんな意地悪言わないでよ。
ひなこ？あ、ごめん。何？
裏切りも。
これシュウにもらっててよかった。助かった。みんな絶対無事でいてくれよ。ここどこ？急いで咲子のとこに戻らないと。シュウ？シュウ？リンコ？ どなたか。
事だといいけど。
I think it's fair to say that Dark Souls 3 is largely seen. Only minor complaint I have for this fight is this move where he shoots like these crossbow bolts or whatever. I don't even have a problem with this move mechanically. It's just that for some reason, I don't know what it is, it looks so out of place in this game. Like compared to the rest of his moveset, that is the one that sticks out to me, and it feels like a mod. I don't know how else to describe it, but some of you may know what I mean. It feels like someone like modded that in and it wasn't part of the original tools. I don't know. It just feels strange and out of place, and it kind of looks goofy when it comes out, but I get it. It is what it is. Besides that, once again, Slave Knight Gale is everything I want out of a finale boss. Like, this is the way to do it, in my opinion. They absolutely crushed it here. So all things considered here, I think Dark Souls 3 bosses, base game and DLC, are actually its like strongest suit. It has a really high batting average. There's nothing that weighs it down really that much, or anything that's like outwardly offensive or you just want to get past it. Like everything is at least moderately enjoyable, if not maybe just being a little indifferent to it. And then the highlights it does have are actual highlights. But where the rubber meets the road for me, what makes Dark Souls 3 so special is its ability to dial in on a specific experience. Everything from visuals to music to sound to level design to bosses to side quest, everything that Dark Souls 3 does, I feel like is not only palatable for new players, but will also satisfy more hardcore players at the same time. It's that being able to reach both audiences is what I think it makes such a widely appealing game. Everything is working in concert to bring the experience that Dark Souls 3 is, and if you've never had it for yourself, then I cannot recommend it enough. It was a wonderful experience to revisit even in modern day, and I have no shame in saying that this is a game that probably will age the most gracefully as time goes on.
After you finish a Souls game, you have questions. Why am I on fire? What's the point of locking myself in this cave? Which ending is the right one? And of course, the age-old question, why do they call him Big Hat Logan? First, let's start with the player character. Who is the chosen undead? Well, they are who you make them. Whether you were a thief or a knight, from Astora or Katarina, it doesn't matter. What's important is that you ended up in a cell at the right place and the right time. For you head to Lordran, in accordance with an old legend that speaks of a mission for a chosen undead hero. This legend is, by the way, most likely a deception by the gods, probably designed to lure powerful heroes to Lordran, but we'll get to that later. Is there a world outside Lordran? Lordran is just the land of the gods, and there is a wider world of man with many more countries therein. The fate of the world largely revolves around Lordran though, so we never go to these other places. But the characters we do meet in Lordran often hail from these foreign countries, and you can tell that they've been designed to be accurate characterizations of their homelands. What you're seeing on screen are the results of an art competition to depict these foreign places. So check out that video if you're interested, and subscribe to see the next competition really soon. How did this world come to be? Originally, the world had no disparity. Everything was just rock, from the land to the trees to the dragons. It was homogeneous, static, without beginning or end. Then, similar to the Big Bang, fire suddenly came to exist, and it disrupted this eternal monotony. Now, there wasn't just existence, but there were states of existence. Heat and cold, light and dark, life and death. The result was a rock universe gradually changing into the world as you see it in-game, including its overabundance of souls. What is a soul? So when fire came to be and permeated the universe, so did souls. Thus, the soul is the power of disparity itself. They are the means by which the first flame changed the universe, and paradoxically, they are both the fuel and the byproduct of that fire. Similar to in Demon Souls, a soul gives you clarity, allowing you to think, but also life, allowing you to be. And just as there are all kinds of life, there are all kinds of souls, of various shapes, sizes, and magical affinities. Many bosses are these special beings with special souls, and the most powerful beings are the lords, bearing Lord Souls. Who are the lords, and what is a Lord Soul? The four lords are the first kings. They were all attracted to the first flame, having only ever known darkness before coming upon it. Each one discovered this massive concentration of Disparity's power near the flame, which they then used to establish a kingdom under their rule. Thus, these massive souls are called Lord Souls. Of these 4 souls, Karth tells us that the Pygmy found the Dark Soul, and it follows that the other Lord Souls all aligned with the other aspects of disparity. So in contrast, Gwyn found the Light Soul, Nito found the Death Soul, and the Witch of Izalith found the Life Soul. These souls came to define them, and they would soon ally together to challenge the Everlasting Dragons. What is an Everlasting Dragon? So they're a part of the original race of dragons that predate life itself. Much like there are wyverns and worms, there are also ancient dragons, or archdragons as later games coin it. Their race is the progenitor to all other dragon subspecies, and these are subspecies that adapted really well to a new world and new environments. You still face some archdragons in-game, but these archdragons never are the original generation of archdragons that actually predate fire. The ancient dragons are commonly described as everlasting, thanks to their stone scales of undeath granting them immortality. However, when Gwyn learned that his bolts of lightning could peel apart those scales, the lords used their full might to hunt down the archdragons to nigh extinction, ushering in the Age of Fire. What is the Age of Fire? It's the era you find yourself in. It was sparked when the lords defeated the archdragons, and even as far back as them finding their lord souls could be denoted as the dawn or beginning of the Age of Fire. So what follows is this period dominated by the lords. Much of this epoch is also denoted as the Age of Gods, since the 3 lords residing in Lordran with their fellow deities are on the rise or at their zenith during it. However, this golden age can only continue so long as fire at the source of the god's power remains strong. But eventually, fire will fade, and only darkness will remain. This, quote, is what Karth describes as the logic of the world. And when that happens, the gods are supposed to be replaced, and their Age of Fire is supposed to become an Age of Dark. In the original Dark Souls, you find yourself at this crossroad. The first flame is about to go out. Even now, its power is barely reaching the world of man, and what follows is a proverbial night. And in this twilight era, the undead curse runs rampant. Okay, so what is the undead curse? Ever since the first flame began to wane, a dark ring of fire has manifested upon the bodies of certain humans, a sign of the dark burgeoning within them. This dark sign marks you as an ageless immortal, though your endless revival comes at the cost of your own souls and sanity until you eventually hollow. What caused the undead curse? This question is at the very heart of this series, and the answer is really quite complex. You'll have a better time with this though if you're familiar with all 3 games. So when the world first began, a creature called the Pygmy found the Dark Soul. Who they were isn't known, nor is it really important. What is important is that they split the Dark Soul into fragments, and these fragments came to be known as humanity, which is a small black spirit found within every human. Karth refers to the furtive Pygmy as your ancestor. Thus, we are descended from one of the 4 lords. These games frequently question whether the dark force within humans is a positive or a negative thing. Your adventure through Ulasil in the Artorias of the Abyss DLC is a great example of that. Here, the darkness within man has gone wild. It's endlessly consuming and corrupting the land and the souls of people around it. And yet, there is dialogue here that's supposed to give you pause.
I still think on that creature from the abyss that preyed upon me. My faculties were far from lucid, but I quite clearly sensed certain emotions. A wrenching nostalgia, a lost joy, an object of obsession, and a sincere hope to reclaim it. Could these thoughts belong to the beast from the abyss? But if that were true, then perhaps it is no beast after all.
This same duality is seen in the descriptions of dark magic, which are spells that are often driven by powerful emotions, positive things like love and calm, or negative things like hate and envy. But whether it's positive or negative, Gwyn's pantheon fears the dark, for one day, as we mentioned earlier, their Age of Fire is going to end, and only dark will remain. This was the logic of the world, until Gwyn committed the first sin, and he shackled the darkness within man. This was a revelation we received in the Ringed City DLC, where the seal of fire around darkness on the dark sign was finally explicitly stated to be a creation of the gods. So for some, like Manus in the first DLC, repression of their humanity causes it to writhe and go mad. However, this seal of fire was placed upon mankind so early in their existence that, for most people, their shackles are all that they know. As a result, and this is really important, humankind end up living their lives through souls that they hold completely separate from the humanity that's within them. You only have to look to the white souls of adventurers that you find in-game as proof of that. Living like this is the lie that Aldia talked about in Dark Souls 2.
All men trust fully the illusion of life. But is this so wrong? A construction, a facade, and yet a world full of warmth and resplendence. Young Hollow, are you intent on shattering the yoke, spoiling this wonderful falsehood?
But in retrospect, the most chilling dialogue Aldia has was this.
Once, the Lord of Light banished dark and all that stemmed from humanity. And men assumed a fleeting form.
We're led to believe that the dark sign cursed humanity with undeath, but Aldia's dialogue means this can't be true. Instead, Aldia says mankind's lives became fleeting when they were branded with the dark sign. So this means that they were originally immortals, and indeed this is the state that you return to when you hollow. What is hollowing? Humanity once stood proud within every human, but when the curse was put upon them, humanity became bound, lost, and repressed. So during this Age of Fire, humanity came to rely heavily on their white soul for their sense of self, and we can see this in the names of these souls. When fire fades, the seal of fire restraining the dark grows weaker. Thus, when fire fades, it follows that our dark soul starts to break free, consuming the white soul that we've come to believe is the self, and this process of losing the self is called hollowing. Dying or losing heart, it accelerates this process. So, an undead must maintain physical and mental fortitude in order to resist this process. However, as you might remember, the Hollows of Londor in Dark Souls 3 believe that their hollow states are really the most honest shape of man. This isn't an easy truth to face, especially since the Dark Soul has become this ravenous, repressed thing. To stay sane as a Hollow, one may need to drain the life of others, and the Hollows of Londor are universally reviled as a result of this. Ultimately, it just leaves you wondering whether this is really the best path for mankind, or whether it's better to just accept the shackles of the gods, or whether humanity's fate has been stolen by the curse, either way. How do we cure the undead curse? Well, curse is an actual affliction, just like poison or toxin. You can experience its build-up in-game, and what this curse does is it locks the dark soul away from the self. It's really about the barrier, it's about the separation, and the Dark Sigil explains this. It says that as humanity leaks out, the curse accumulates in exchange. Unfortunately,